Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Party of Two. My name is Tony Shu. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DoorDash, and every week I get the privilege of talking to a fantastic restaurateur and owner-operator of a business. And we get to tell their stories, understand their motivations, inspirations, all the things that they have going on for this year as well as for the years to come. And I'm super excited today to be chatting with Justin Tisdall, who is one of the owners and operators of Juke Fried Chicken, which is an awesome restaurant based in Vancouver, Canada. And so, give me a few moments here. I'm going to invite Justin to the conversation. Justin, how are you?
Hello. Hi, Tony. Good. How are you?
I'm glad that we can make this work. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, well, my understanding in doing a little bit of homework for this conversation was that you used to be a swimmer. How did you go from competitive swimming into founding a restaurant? Maybe tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got into Juke Fried Chicken.
Yeah. So Canadian athletics many years ago when I was a young man didn't necessarily fund you enough to support living, paying rent in Vancouver, paying for food, university. So I basically needed to get a job. And the only thing that worked around when you're kind of up at 4:30 in the morning and you have class all day and you swim till 7:30 at night is working at night. So I got into restaurants. I kind of took that belief of when you're a national, international athlete, you want to be that much better every day. So I took that into restaurants and kept trying to work and learn more at better and better restaurants. And then I knew I wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah. And how did the idea of Juke Fried Chicken come about?
Came about with my wife and I. We were traveling. I was always a pretty finicky eater, even though I worked in some fine dining establishments. So I wanted to open really fun comfort food, but take that idea of really high-end ingredients. So my business partner and chef, he and I worked on and off together for about 15 years. And I pitched him this idea. And at the time, everyone was like, the algorithm is you need about 79 to 100 seats, and you've got to start doing all these turns. And in Vancouver, it rains a lot here. So I said, instead of having this many seats, let's give up 30% of our restaurant to takeout and see what takeout does for us. And right as we came to be, DoorDash came to be. So we kind of got in right on the ground floor. It worked out well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're lucky that you bet on us when we launched in Canada, and it's been an amazing ride together. So thank you for that. But, yeah, well, why don't you tell the audience a bit about Juke Fried Chicken, maybe those who don't yet know about you, and because my understanding is you've actually expanded the concept now into a cocktail offering as well as even another restaurant altogether. Maybe tell us about Juke Fried Chicken, its menu, and then all the things that you've done and expanded since.
Yeah, so we opened it in the summer of 2016, and as I said, the idea was comfort food made with really high quality ingredients, and we always wanted to have cocktails and takeout, but we didn't really know how to make that click. And as I mentioned, I was traveling with my wife, and we went to this really authentic Indian restaurant. But the other half of the restaurant was this really bright, vibrant, like takeout counter. And I just never seen anything like it. And then it clicked. I was like, this is how we make Juke work. Doesn't look at all like that, like Indian place.
Yeah.
But just something clicked. So we opened and it went really well. We actually worked out some really good kind of deals with DoorDash to start getting we call it our Juke box, like our green delivery boxes, kind of into people's houses right away. And then through that, we always had the idea of being as green and eco-friendly as we could be. And we're never going to compromise on that. So then the idea came, how do we take that concept further? And we went into plant-based, which is Beatbox, our second restaurant. Same idea, conscious comfort food. You can't make it home, so you just want to order it and feel good when you get it. And then through the pandemic, it gave us a chance. No one ever knew what was going to happen with restaurants. So our idea was if we're going to go down, we'll go down fighting. So we basically cut Juke in half, took that cocktail dining side, turned it into like a full cocktail and snack bar, built a wall, and kind of divided our restaurants. So now we have
Wow.
like 3 individual establishments, and we've been pretty fortunate through the pandemic. Like we had DoorDash to help us out. We had being the delivery guys for kind of 5 years. We already had a
Yeah.
bit of a call brand, so that really got us through.
That's amazing. I mean, do you think this is like a trend that's gonna, happen more often where I think restaurants start, recognizing that maybe they sell different experiences and products? I mean, I thought it's brilliant what you did, I mean, my understanding, I think it's called the Chickadee Room, right? The
Yeah,
cocktail place.
yeah.
And like, why do you think maybe more restaurants don't think of it that way, where, they basically sell so many different things on a menu, each section of the menu almost could be its own experience. Do you think more restaurants will get into doing this, or?
I, I think it depends when and how your restaurant's built. Certain
Yeah,
kitchens, can't pivot as well as others.
sure.
Certain dining rooms can't be adjusted. But one thing we recognized really early on when we were building out Juke, we were like, okay, apartments are getting smaller, kitchens are getting
Hmm.
smaller, people are just getting busier. So they're only going
Yeah,
to dine out more or do takeout. So we're
interesting.
never going to be the anniversary birthday restaurant where you go out with your family and spend a few $100s. So
Right.
we're like, we're going to be the people you contact on a weekly basis. So how do we just
Yeah,
keep you wanting to come in and have a drink or have a jukebox at home?
yeah.
So that was our pivot. And then through
Hmm.
the pandemic, we were fortunate enough we could kind of help our other friends' restaurants who've never done takeout before learn about
Yeah,
packaging and keeping things fresh and
yeah.
timings and pickups and deliveries. So we were just really fortunate in how that worked out.
That's amazing. I mean, I I think like, one big lesson I take away from just our brief conversation so far is just knowing exactly what you stand for and what you're not. And I think going all in and leaning into that direction, I think makes you build a more and more differentiated product. That's excellent. What are the plans maybe for the upcoming year? Obviously, new year. Um,
Yeah,
you got Beatbox going now. You
yeah,
have the Chickadee Room. You have obviously the Juke.
yeah.
What's in store for the upcoming year?
So I think touching on your last point, we always said when we were building out, you're always defined by the decisions you make, but also the decisions you don't make, like the reasons you don't
Hmm.
do things. And if you know yourself well enough, people
Hmm.
will start gravitating to why your brand is your brand. So when
Yeah.
we look
Hmm.
to the future, we're like, how do we expand our brand by keeping those core values intact, never compromising on quality or ingredients? So we'd love to open another brick and mortar, even though everyone's like, don't do brick and mortars. But we'd love to do that. We're looking at seeing if we could do Juke on a smaller scale. Everyone wants to do
Yeah.
bigger restaurants their next time around, but we're like, how do we make it smaller and
Hmm.
get into communities we're not in yet? How do we just expand that knowledge of like what this product is? So we're looking
Yeah.
at that, and we're
Awesome.
also working hard on packaged goods. Like how do we get into stores?
Interesting.
How do we? Because Juke's all gluten free.
Yep.
So if we could really focus on gluten free waffle batter and gluten free flour
Hmm.
mixes, that's one thing we want to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just love, again, like the expansive thinking about recognizing that, like no restaurant is this kind of monolithic thing, right? Like
Yeah,
we have drinks, we have desserts,
yeah,
we have apps and kind of main courses, and each thing can really be its own thing. I think it's awesome that, you've done that, frankly, so quickly. I mean, like
yeah,
2016, it's not, I mean, happy, I guess, 5 years or beyond, but like
yeah.
it's incredible. Um, well, what are maybe some questions I can take for you? I mean, are there things that are top of mind, that you may be interested in talking about the industry or about, things we could be doing better on the DoorDash platform?
Yeah, I think as I said, we've been with DoorDash for now 5.5 years.
Yeah,
It's been really fun to see their growth, see our growth due to that, and work together in making that. But I guess, as you guys have competition out there and other third-party deliveries. What's your 6, 12-month, 5-month plan to kind of differentiate yourselves from that? How do you stand out as a different entity?
yeah. Well, I think a few things. I think it's, first and foremost, always just starts with like, what is it that the customer wants, and also what is it that we stand for? I think in a very similar way to maybe how you thought about, your Juke concept. And for us, it's really always getting the basics right. It sounds really easy to just do what we do,
It's
which
not.
is bring a jukebox from point A to point B. But as you know, everything from the timing to the affordability of the platform to the accuracy of the platform, and then doing it millions of times per day, not just maybe once or twice. I mean, that's everything. And I think sometimes while it's maybe exciting to chase the next new thing,
Yeah.
and obviously, like, we have our eyes kind of apprised of the future, it's so important to remember that at the end of the day, it's about which restaurants we're lucky to partner with, what's the quality of the experience we can bring from their restaurants to the living room or the dining room in people's homes, and offices, and at the end of the day, can we do it at an affordable price? And that's really kind of our business. It sounds really simple, but as you know, I mean, it's really hard to get that perfect in every zip code, every geography, and that's really I think the challenge. And I think it means that we have to keep inventing. I think that as I mean, customers, their expectations, they only go up, and no one is staying just like static in terms of what they expect. They always expect more choices and faster deliveries and cheaper deliveries and things like this. And so that's really always kind of the hallmark. But I'm also really excited about some of the other things that we're doing. We're bringing now more than just lunch and dinner. We're bringing more of the neighborhood with convenience items or grocery items and these sorts of things, right? And so kind of like you, as you have opened up your menu into kind of different experiences, so too have we done that. And so I think those are a couple of the big focal areas for us.
And so, a little deviation. So, as a
Yeah.
larger company, I think you definitely dominate the market in Vancouver. Do you guys have charitable goals down the road? Do you guys what kind of like what's your give back policy?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're called charitable goals per se, but like I guess for us, we've always believed, in doing things that achieve our mission, which is to grow and to empower local economies. For example, when we went public as a company, about a little over a year ago, December of 2020, our first dollars that we took in, we actually invested directly back into the merchants and the dashers on our platform. We paid out bonuses to dashers who've been on the platform for many years. We established a $200 million fund over 5 years to help merchants become better, digital native entrepreneurs. And I think those are things that we, can be and should be doing every single day. I don't think it's necessarily waiting until some milestone or some, measure of success and then doing it. I think it's trying to achieve that goal in every step of the way. For us, the big kind of initiatives here have always been, number one, Project Dash, which is really our big effort since 2018 around how do we solve the food insecurity problem. We know that everyone wants to give food. Restaurants want to give away food. Grocery stores want to give away food. A lot of people want to give away their access, but 99% of the time they don't, because they don't have an easy way to actually deliver that to the people that actually need it the most. And so that's what we use our platform for, tens of millions of deliveries now, through Project Dash. We're starting to pick up on, other areas as well. And, and those are some of the announcements that we'll probably make in the future. But again, they're all in the spirit of trying to achieve the goals, for the company, which is to make sure that local commerce can grow and to remind everyone that it's the small, medium, and large businesses inside our cities that produce the vast majority of jobs. And that's what we need to protect.
Nice. That's great. Like we still have dashers that have been regulars of ours for 5 years. They still come in. They're still the drivers, and we're like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" We get to know about them, so that's great to see.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. What's one thing you're really excited about, this year?
Every year is a bit different because you never really know what you're going to get. I think you look at 2 years ago, you didn't even know if restaurants would be open, and then look at last year and you're like, okay, great, we're open, but how do we constantly keep ourselves on the forefront of people's minds now that every single person's doing takeout. So I'm pretty fortunate. It's just my business partner and I. We can make decisions really quick. So, it's interesting to see what the economy is going to bring. The Canadian economy is going to change a little bit as, a lot of people have been out of work for a while. Our interest rates are going to increase.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what dining out looks like after that. Even delivery looks like after that, because, it might be the roaring 20s, or it might be, tighter wallets coming up. So it's just exciting to see. Now everything's the unknown. It used to be a restaurant. Obviously, every day was different in a restaurant, but you kind of knew what was going on each day. The world was at a normal stasis, and now every day could change. It could be a lockdown tomorrow. You could open up tomorrow. You could, only be able to dine outside. So all of these rules that keep happening keep us wanting to just innovate and provide new products and constantly, keep our brand forefront of people's mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think we're certainly entering a period of greater and greater volatility. Obviously we've had an incredible run as an economy globally, over the past decade, and maybe even more so. Here's the one thing I do know, though, regardless of the volatility, I know that people eat 3 times every day in I guess boom times, as well as in recessionary times, and I think that while there are always ups and downs, I think the greatest privilege we have is that we're trying to give people sustenance, and I think that it's something that it's an amazing privilege. I think
just gonna say that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that there aren't tough days or frustrating moments. There obviously are, and very precarious ones and painful moments along the way too. But what I've learned is that it's incredible how what you guys do can light up a family, because you solve some mission critical thing for them for dinner or for lunch or something, right? And that's kind of what gets me going after the next maybe a difficult milestone or something like this. But it is really a great privilege, and I think you kind of nailed it, Justin, in both what you've accomplished as well as what you just said, which is we have to keep inventing. I think that we're in a business where it's a high frequency business, which gives us many shots on goal, and we have to keep taking them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we know we're fortunate. Like, both of our establishments are in lower income areas. We know that sometimes eating 3 meals a day is a privilege for people. So we work really hard at trying to provide food at a great value. Even though some of it can be fried, since Juke Fried Chicken, but we still have healthy options. So you're not just in a food oasis. So we know that, and we don't take that privilege lightly. And it's nice to have partners that we can rely on and work well with. Yeah.
Well, look, I've been super inspired by your story, as well as all the things that you and your partner and the entire team at Juke have accomplished. And it's a great privilege for all of us at DoorDash to be partners alongside your journey. So anything that we can do to support you in the future, obviously we'll be there for you. So I just want to say thanks, Justin, congrats, and let's have a great year together.
Yeah, let's have a great year. Cheers to 2022, and thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. And thanks, everyone. We'll be back next week for another episode of Party of Two.